This isn't a full-on stream. I actually only have like 15 minutes, but I was testing, kind of readjusted on my lighting and settings and everything. So trying to see if it just looks a little bit better. Still getting used to all this stuff, but I do want to kind of get the ball rolling with tuning this floor tom, but I think it sounds amazing as it is, so I don't want to lose track of it. So let's get the reading of where it's sitting. Somewhere around an F, E or an F. I think it's an E. Yeah, slightly sharp. That makes sense because I have this to a B, this to an E. Now let's get where the top and bottom heads are. Top head is like 120. Let's see what the bottom is reading. So 120 over 156. Let me write that down just in case I take this thing too far gone. 120 over 156. Where did my pen go? So 120 over 156. E. All right. I'm going to take it down as low as it can go, and then work my way up a bit. So since the top head is here, we'll do finger tight with the top head first. It's like a half turn, basically only half turn up to where I had it. That one was a little bit more than a half turn, but always good to remember that too. So roughly a half turn above slack is kind of where it was sitting. So this drum is shallower. I think it's a 12 by 16. And it has center point lugs, so sort of club date style, which means the tension rods are a bit longer, but less hardware on the shell. Old school look. Okay, that's finger tight. Let's do the same thing on the bottom. This also has a Genera Rezo. You know, I don't know the specs on that head. It might be a 7 mil, like a Diplomat if you're a Remo user. Because Evans doesn't have that same degree, that like thin, medium, and heavy, like the Diplomat. I think is a 7.5 mil. Ambassador is 10 mil. Ambassador X is 12. Then Emperor is the 2-ply. I think it's 2-ply is 7.5. I don't think Evans has the 7.5 batter head line. They have the Stratas, but they have a coating, like a very specific type of coating. I think their Genera Rezo is their Diplomat. They're 7.5, I think. I could be way off, but it's a thinner head for sure. All right, that's finger tight. So just like with the rack tom, I'm gonna look at the light, refractions, and tune out any wrinkles. Try to get each one just to the point where the wrinkles flatten out. There we go. Side note, I heard that Bob Gadsden passed away a little while ago. I learned so much about drum tuning from his videos and writing over the years. Huge influence on the modern drum set industry. There we go. Now they're starting to go. So I'll usually go around twice because it usually takes that extra time around to really find where the lowest note is. Once the wrinkles are gone, that means that the drum head is fully in contact with the bearing edge, so it should be a pretty clean sound, and it'll be the lowest possible note for that drum with those heads. All right. Some of these do not introduce wrinkles, so I just put a little bit of tension on them. This one does. Okay, that's as low as that can go. Now we gotta do the same to the top. Whoops. Okay. Raise this sucker up a bit. All right. Also, turned up my interface a bit. I think the audio was a little bit quiet yesterday. Hopefully it's a little bit better. I did not change the batteries in my mic yet, so this is completely maxed out. I will fix that soon. But let's, today was an impromptu stream just to see if the cameras look any better with these different settings. So coated heads, it's harder for me to see the wrinkles, so I usually kind of press by the bearing edge to feel if it's making contact. Like there's a big wrinkle there. Shit. Okay. Always have multiple drum keys around because one will always end up on the floor. I think we're pretty good. Right here. Okay. This drum is now. Hey, what's up, Tim? Thanks. I'm glad you dig the kit. I'm loving it. I wanted to go with something throwback, but also have some little modern vibe to it. So I'm digging it. All right, both heads tuned as low as they can go, above wrinkles. Did not check the pitch. What does it sound like? Insane. If I was having to deal with backline gear for like a festival gig or something, I would just go with that. I wouldn't even sweat anything else. I might actually have to like put some muffling on it because it's ringing. The sustain is so long, but that's as low as it can go, and it sounds incredible. So when in doubt, go as low as it can go on a floor tom. So that's a C second octave, which is usually where I have a 16 tuned when I want as big a sound as possible, which means it's a weird major seventh between the floor tom and rack tom. So I could bring the rack tom up if I wanted to get these to sing together, or I could bring it down maybe to a G. Because remember yesterday, the lowest possible note on this guy was a G. So I could get a fifth if I take this down as low as I can go and have this as low as I can go. So what I'm actually going to do, I know that's as low as it can go. I'm going to write that on there. That's a C. Oh, did it go down maybe? No, that's C, second octave. I'll just write that on the head. So now I know the lowest possible pitch. Hey, what's up, Rick? Thanks for tuning in again. Appreciate seeing you. Glad you're digging it. I'm trying to share as much info as I can while I can. I'm going to just bring the bottom head up a bit and see what happens. So eighth-ish turn on all the lugs. Went up a half step, a little bit more than a half step, so it's like a sharp C sharp. Sounds amazing. Take it up a little bit more, another eighth turn on the bottom. I'm liking the fluffiness of the feel of the top. So before I start messing with that, I want to see if I could just bring the pitch up closer to like an E. So it sits with the rack tom nicely. So that's another eighth to a quarter turn. All right, that's a sharp D. So I need to get another whole step out of it. I think if I take the bottom head up any more, it's going to get out of balance and not sound great. So now I will bring up the top head a bit. I'm trying to get it to the E, kind of where we started. Like that. So I did literally the same amount of tuning, top and bottom, 2 rounds of eighth to a quarter turn, probably closer to an eighth. And it brought it right up to the E where I started. And it sounds incredible. And I have no idea what the relationship between these heads is. I know I started with them as low as they can go. Floor toms tend to be a little bit more forgiving. I started with them tuned as low as they could possibly go, above the wrinkle point. Didn't even bounce them out. And then brought them all up by a total of a quarter turn, top and bottom. And there it is. In a pinch, I would not need to freak out about making sure that the tension rods are balanced and the top and bottom heads are at a consonant interval. Doesn't matter. Sounds great. It's a great drum with good heads. It's going to sound great. It's going to do its best to sound good for you. But let's just now see where we ended up, how close we are to the 120 over 156. I bet we're nowhere near that, but let's find out. So the top head is all over the place, but it's around a 130, so it's quite a bit higher than it was when I started, which means the bottom head has got to be lower in order to compensate. Yeah. They're basically the same, 132. So I was able to get an E originally with 120 over 156, and then now I'm able to get an E with essentially 130 over 130. Same note. Same, not quite the same characteristics. It feels a little bit firmer to the stick. Because the batter head is a little bit higher, it feels a little bit firmer, which in turn gives it a little bit more of a brighter attack as well. So if I like the fluffier, softer feel, I would just take the top head down an eighth and then the bottom head up an eighth to rebalance it, get a softer feel on top while retaining the pitch that I want. That's it. 15-minute crash course on how to tune a floor tom. Much easier to tune a floor tom than a rack tom most of the time. No muffling on any of them. Are the bearing edges the same on both drums? Did you request them? I do not get involved. I am not an expert on drum building or bearing edges or what would be best on this species. I leave that up to the experts. I just told Chris Carr at Bucks County what I wanted. I wanted a gigging kit that could cover a wide range of sounds. It would sound good played quiet. It would sound good hit hard. It would sound good tuned high, tuned low. To cover everything from modern country or rock to, New Orleans jazz. And he does his thing. They are, I believe they're 45 with a contoured outer edge. Not necessarily a round over, but contoured, hand contoured. There's a whole lot of mythology about bearing edges, and I don't think it matters as much as we think. It's just how much of the wood is making contact with the drum head, and then how flat is the bearing edge overall. It's got to be flat. Less wood contacting the drum head means a brighter sound, longer resonance, potentially tuning issues at lower tunings. More of a rounded edge generally means a denser, woodier sound, less volume, potentially issues when you tuned high because it just goes kind of dead. But I don't get involved in angles and all that. I don't think the angle of the space that's not touching the drum has any relevance to what the drum sounds like. So I'm pretty sure they're the exact same edges on all the drums, but I'd have to ask Chris. And I'm pretty sure they're 45 with a rounded back contour. And it sounds great, so I'm never going to question it. I do know the snare drum has a different edge. When I looked at it, it seemed like it was a more extreme 45. Because I think he was just experimenting on this snare drum. You have to ask him what he did on the snare, if it's something different. Because he also put reed rings in it, which isn't typical anymore with most drums that he's building, at least that I've seen. So here's the snare. I think they sound perfectly balanced all the way through, in my opinion. The snare, I think, has found its hoppy. Maybe it's time for a drink. The snare found its happy spot. Tuned a little bit higher. It also did the low thing really well, but I'm liking where it's at right now. I'm not going to touch it. I'll probably do, the next thing I'll do will be mess around with the bass drum. Although I'm loving where it is now. But might as well just mess around, just like I did with the other drums. It's reassuring to realize I'm kind of settling back on my original theory, which is I prefer top and bottom heads tuned to the same, fairly close to the same note. All right, I gotta go. I got a meeting, I gotta run. Tomorrow's Friday, it's supposed to be a snow day, so more than likely I will be hopping on tomorrow because we're gonna have a bunch of snow and I'm gonna be avoiding shoveling. So have a good one, see ya.